Welcome to Beats Decoded podcast with me,
Hello,
Rod.
hello. And me,
Suvi. Yeah.
Suvi.
All right. So let's do a little recap of last week's podcast where we introduced the concept. Well, take it away. Tell them everything you talked about last week, but compressed.
All right, so we spoke about Beats Decoded. We spoke on Beats Decoded about Sync Together, which is the new virtual record label that we are building from scratch. And that's what we're going to talk about today, too. We're going to continue talking about building a business from scratch.
hmm So for our agenda, we're gonna kick it off by let me pull it up actually. So uh, we're gonna go over the website that you've been working on.
Oh,
Where
yeah.
a week and a half or so. So we're gonna have you show it off, and then maybe I'll give you some suggestions on improvements and that sort of thing.
So you might have to show it up because I'm not connected on my laptop. I had some audio trouble. I will figure that out after.
Can you put the link
Um,
in the comments?
yes, let's do that really quick.
I had it open to the SuviSociety.com under
Hmm.
is that under Learn with Suvi or Collab with Suvi, Suvi Music, Sync
Sync
Together. There.
together.
Okay, so let me share my screen.
Oh yeah, I should pull that up too.
All right, you want to talk about what you've put in here?
All right, so I kept it very simple, like as we spoke about. At this point, it's pretty much just the pitch deck and what Sync Together is and a sign up form. I kept it simple because we're still developing a lot of the concept, but I did bring in my brand colors, which is this really pretty pink hex FACED, if anybody's interested. um, but yeah, the concept was, I got into thinking about, okay, I'm going to build something for Sync Together, but in my head, it didn't make sense to have Sync Together without having a little bit of everything that I do and what is that I bring to the table. So I decided to bring Suvi Society into the picture, which is basically my brand. We talk about my music, how you can collaborate with me, and how I you can learn music from me. That's basically music and music business education. I focus on that a lot. So I wanted to bring that into the scene and then make Sync Together a part of it. So basically, Suvi Society is embrace your business, unleash your creativity. Like a pain point that I have constantly come across talking to other musician friends and peers is that most of them don't know how to monetize their music business. And this is also, speaking for myself, like it's easy to go to school, study, and then come out and be like, okay, now what do I do, right? So
Mhm.
the usual step in India, the usual steps are aspire to become a playback singer if you're a singer, or aspire to become a musician for a big music director. These are like such a passe ways of monetizing a music career. There is so much more that you can do, which is what I talk about on my website. Like you can book one-on-one sessions and we can go over all of your skills and then make it a comprehensive business, which is basically where the concept of Sync Together came to be. I was like, everybody should be empowered with the tools they need to monetize their music career, right? Like it shouldn't just be, oh, you got to get signed to a label in order to have a great music career. You, like I said in the previous episode, there's no more the Beyonce era or the Michael Jackson era, right? There's a lot more $100,000 making 9 to 5 musicians who exist on a platform that can monetize consistently from their music career. And platforms like what is that I'm blanking out, the one where you can go and post your BTS and have courses and A lot of platforms are basically monetizing on the fact that if you are someone with a consistent or like 1,000 subscribers, right, you can actually take your monthly income analytics and go to banks and get a loan for yourself. Like as an independent contractor, that's one of the hardest aspects of our career, because if you want to start something, it's really hard for us to showcase, oh, this is how inconsistent our paychecks are. So having your identity, your brand set up online, like social media has turned into literally becoming your business card, right? So if you have something like that put together, you can actually monetize your career. And at Sync Together, my goal is to bring in that aspect of a musician's career on a platform that is easily accessible to anyone. You can be 15 years old, but if you know that this is what I want to do, instead of spending 10 years doing things that doesn't make any sense, sign up to the website and start educating yourself, start learning, gather all the information, and then start accessing the tools. And eventually, you will have a community that is willing to support you. And you do not need millions and millions of subscribers to make a consistent income that you can live off of. You can start with 1,000 subscribers. You can go from there. These are facts and figures that has been put into our heads by super achievers on social media, that you need millions of followers. No, you don't. You don't really need that. Like I have, just this is very humbling for me. I have 6 subscribers, yay, on my Instagram, and that's consistent $30 for me every month. And I'm so proud of them because I literally took my Suvi Society website and posted it on my broadcast channel on Instagram, and they gave me so many tips. They were like, Suvi, I go onto your homepage and I don't know what is that you are. Who are you? Like I don't understand. So then I, gave that short little intro in the beginning, even before my about page even came to be, right? And then one of my other friends on my who subscribers was like, you should have, for SEO purpose, you should have a hyperlink to your music, your collaboration, and your education right in the front page. So then it shows up. I'm like, incredible. So it's like I am making $30 at this point, but I'm also getting so much value and so much love, and they feel like they're part of my career, and I feel like they're part of my career. It's such a community that we're building, and that is a mindset shift that we all need to start working towards. And for me, Sync Together is basically bringing that aspect onto a larger platform that does just that.
So with this website that you have here, one thing I would recommend is that you try different copy and then you try to drive traffic to the website. Okay, so
What does that mean?
so that essentially means you need to get people to click on your link to go to your website. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
if you want to do that cheap and free, social media. I found like TikTok. I found is probably the one that gets you the most amount of views without having a huge subscriber list, because they'll actually go and try to see. They'll put your stuff out there. Any video that I put out there usually will get 250 views, and then you can try to drive traffic to the website and see if then at that point do they go through the funnel of actually giving you their information to join the mailing list.
Ah,
So what you'll learn there is, one thing you'd want to get is like Google Analytics. Do you have anything to actually
yes.
see who's hitting the website?
Say that again.
Do you have any tools for analytics to see who's hitting the website?
So I have actually added some aspects of the Google Analytics, but I haven't yet optimized any of them. Right now, only it shows up on Google at this point. I've connected it, but I don't think there's any traffic by just clicking it, going there. It doesn't show up on. It shows up on the first page, but it's not the first thing that shows up when you type my name.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to do that part of it for
Yeah.
sure.
So with Google, if you put Google Analytics into this website, like particularly this page, okay, you can see
Oh,
from
okay.
from which link did someone come in, from which referral did they come in from. So you try different videos like to your subscribers or your friends on TikTok or Facebook or whatever. And then that traffic will drive here. And then you kind of will see like what message on the website resonates for them to actually go and give their information to you.
So I basically put different pages. So it's like the A/B for type of testing thing
Yeah,
that you're
exactly.
talking about. So
Exactly.
I basically go on TikTok, post one kind of video that brings it to one aspect of the website, and just keep doing A, B, C formats of it from different platforms, and see which video garners the most subscription, basically signups to which page, right? So each video will have a different link from the website.
So if you have, let's say you have, you're running like 5 different campaigns. You create
Mm-hmm.
5 different landing pages, all unique links. Like right now, the page that we're looking at is slash sync together, but maybe you have a slash sync together 2, slash sync together 3, so on and so forth, that have different
Right.
copy that you're trying to convey what you're trying to do differently, right? And maybe the education aspect sticks out, or maybe it's some other portion of it that's more important. By you having a
Uh-huh.
few different versions of it and then driving different traffic to each version, you can then see like, okay, this is what resonates. This is what actually got people to sign up, and then you know you have something.
Right. And then amplify that campaign
Right. In the
more.
very beginning, before you actually start building your product, you want to do a series of small experiments. And these experiments are very low effort, right? You can just go and pay, some amount of money on Google AdSense or Facebook ads or whatever. But since, on social media, you can get a good amount of free traffic, you could probably get away with not having to do that. So
Mm.
create some little like promos that you do in social media, drive traffic to different pages, measure it through Google Analytics to see, okay, this copy was able to get this many signups, and then to then fine tune the one that works. So let's
I
say
hear you.
if you did 5 experiments, 1 through 5 pages, all about the same thing, they're all trying to get everybody to sign up for it, and then you see that number 3 is doing really well. Okay, so you throw away the first 2 and the last 2, and then you hone in on the third one. So now you do
Hmm.
5 of that one, but variations of it, and you just keep doing that until you figure out like, okay, I think I got it. Where this is getting 5% of
I
people
hear.
to sign up.
Mm-hmm. Okay, the funnel system. This is what they call the funnel system, right?
Right.
Oh yeah, I learned something. Okay, I've always read about it. I never really like knew what it was doing, but this is good to know. Okay, cool. So I that will be a good thing for me to figure out. So just for me to reiterate everything that you just said, I say for instance, I take 5 different videos,
Mm-hmm.
all with a cohesive message, but they all have a different call to action landing pages, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And
Right.
then I check out the analytics on my website to see which one, because they all have different landing web links. They
Mm-hmm.
will tell me exactly where the clicks came from, so that way I would know which video generated the most, and then I keep honing into the ones that are generating the most, and then finally achieve the target goal, right?
So it's multiple layers, right? So you do
Mm-hmm.
that for the first layer, which is the video that's driving the traffic. Then on the landing page itself, you do different versions there to figure out which one to hone in on. So it's you're fine tuning it along the whole pipeline of the funnel.
Wow. Okay. This also sounds like something I should um like do some more research and learn about, because that's another side of me. I have to like nerd out on something
Mm,
before it actually makes sense in my head. But I think I get the concept. So I definitely work on that, because like I said, right now, when you do Suvi, right? And when I type Suvi music on Google, so suvisociety.com is probably like the 15th link. But I really want to make it.
that's more SEO, right? Of getting the right
Mm,
keywords, so you get ranked higher, and then also other people linking to your page that makes your ranking go up higher also. And it's
oh,
pretty.
I hear you.
They're on such a like that's all the really basic stuff. Now Google's doing some stuff that we have no idea how they're ranking our pages. right? So,
Ah,
but you can still do all those things where you have people linking to your page. You have the right keywords that hit Suvi Society to make it ranked up higher.
right. Okay. That sounds great. Okay. See, is this something that we can teach on Sing Together? I think it should be
Yeah, of
something that
course. We
should
can
be
put that.
common knowledge.
We can put all this stuff in there. It's like, how do you drive traffic? How do you make your website work? All that stuff is important for an artist to know.
Yeah.
Even
Yeah.
like you showing them like, hey, I used Wix and I did this, this, and this. Just like walking them through that process. That could be a video tutorial that you do. Like, hey, this is what I did. I went and made these different 5 videos. I made 5 different landing pages. I drove traffic. I saw who people signed up, so I knew that this is what's going to hit.
Right. Yeah. That's a great idea. I'm actually gonna write that.
So if you're going to nerd out,
Mm,
you can Google for marketing funnels as like the look for tutorials on that about how do you drive traffic, how do you track it, and most of the stuff is free or very cheap.
yeah, I think like there's a lot of free information on this as well. And like you said, if it is paid too, it's like so small. It's worth the investment. It's something that has always caught my attention, but I've like swipe left.
Yeah. So you'll see a YouTube short on it. You're like, no, next one. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and see, that's the other thing, right? Like, as a musician, you're so focused on creating the music and um, collaborations and the creative process. It's so hard for me to put my mind's focus on actually learning about the business. And I consider myself a lot better than a lot of musicians out there because I get asked some questions that are some basic questions in the music
Mhm.
business, right? So to make that common knowledge, I think is also something that the industry is lacking, you know? Like everyone that I talk to, again, the pain point is, I don't know, I'm so talented, but nobody knows that I exist. And I'm like, bro, when back in the day, I took CDs and went to Ilayaraja and A.R. Rahman, and like I knocked on their doors and like left CDs for them to listen to, and I got gigs from that.
Mhm.
That is literally the same as these days optimizing your social media and making
Yeah.
sure that you land into their radar, you know? So that is, it is a transition. The younger generation are definitely a lot more savvy straight out of school. And, but as you're coming straight out of school, Sync Together I want Sync Together to be that platform that people access to gather all that information in one spot rather
Mhm.
than having to go Google and find, okay, how do I do funnel marketing? Okay, how do I optimize my social media? You know, all of those things in one spot. Yep.
Yep. Yep. So that's one of your homework assignments. Every time we have these
Okay.
podcasts, you get homework. So five
Yeah,
different
I like
landing
it.
pages, 5 videos driving traffic to those landing pages, and then you're gonna have Google Analytics to make sure that it's in your website. It's reporting on where the referrals are coming from, and then report back like, hey, I tried these 5. This is the one that worked the best, and then I'm gonna spend another week just fine tuning that one, and then creating more traffic to that one fine tuned landing page.
Mm, okay. I can do that. I can do that. I didn't know I could build a website that looks like this, so I can do the other next homework too.
Things are so easy when you have AI, Google, all these things that teach you, and videos on YouTube of how to actually do all this stuff.
Yeah, and Wix itself had a lot of really good resources for me to tap into to, make what I have right now. It did take me a while, but I got very obsessed with it and sat with it.
Yeah, yeah. But that's what learning anything. The initial step is the hardest. Once you get used to it, it's like, oh, why was this so hard in the first place? Sometimes
Right.
it's the fault of the people that made the software because they put
Yeah.
buttons in the wrong place. They could group things weird. They could have done more simply, but they made it more complicated, or they just kept adding things to the project. But even there, if you spend enough time in some complicated software, you learn the ropes, you learn what you need to do. After a while, it's second nature.
Yeah, I mean, just talking about my process, the first 30 minutes I spent on Wix, because I have worked on Wix in the past, it is not the same.
Mhm.
It is way better now because I have worked with Wix like say 2015, 2016. I've built 3 or 4 websites for different people and for myself, and it was way different. What it is now is completely different. So I went into it thinking, I know what Wix is. I got this. And like the
Mhm.
first 30 minutes was me just like being super frustrated. I'm like, what's going on? And the whole time I had to keep telling myself, just break through that, like that block, that this block that I'm facing right now means I'm at a good place. And if I can just, when you run for a long time and after like 15-20 minutes of running, you're just like, I gotta take a little breather. But then if you stop, you're done. You're fucked.
Well, the good news is I don't run, so I don't have that problem. I'm just like, no thanks. I do not like
Yeah,
run.
I
I
mean,
like sports. I don't like running.
you don't like
But
running?
I get the same thing in sports. Like in sports, I'll hit the first wall, and I'm just like, dude, why don't you just quit? Just take the day off. Like, why are you putting
Just
yourself?
take the. But if you like tell that voice, hey man, just sit on my shoulder and watch what I'm doing, okay? Let me teach you something. Like I try to give little characters to
And
my voices,
then you're like, all right,
but
get out of
these,
here. I don't need you anymore.
yeah, I don't like. If I can just break through that first wall, I'm gonna write that down. First wall breakthrough. Because it's so hard, usually in everything, right? Like I've heard myself say this and people say it, like it's so hard for me to get that momentum. Then, but as soon as I have the momentum, it's so much fun. But the
Mhm.
momentum is where 99% of the people don't do things and don't get to where they want to be. So how can you make gaining momentum fun? One book that I really enjoyed was The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck.
I've got
Have you
audio.
read it?
I
Yeah.
listened to it, but a long time ago, so I don't remember any of it. But I've already mastered
It's
not giving a fuck. So
yeah, that's true. I like the way I like how he just broke Mark Mark Ranson. I'm thinking of a music producer, I think. I forget his name. But I like how he introduced the concept of not giving a fuck in his writing too, which
yeah,
is cool. And we need more of that. There's way too many stuck up concepts out there.
yeah. I feel like if you can get past the little voice, you hit flow state, and then time, time is not even in your mind anymore. You look up and you're like, oh man, it's been 2-3 hours, and I've just been deep
Mm-hmm.
in this session doing my art, doing my coding, doing my whatever, right? So if you can hit
Yep.
that flow state, get over that initial. Have you heard of like the where let's say you can't force yourself to do something, and you say, all right, I'm gonna set a timer. It's like the Pomodoro. You know what I'm talking about?
Pomodoro.
Pomodoro
I
method.
haven't accessed that method, but I've intuitively done that since my biotechnology, my graduate days. I always tell myself, all right, I'm gonna give myself 15 minutes, right?
Mhm.
15 minutes, and if it doesn't make sense, I'm just not gonna do it. And then I set the timer on, I start working, and then the timer comes on, I'm like, what the hell? Stop. Who even set this timer?
Yeah, now you're deep in the state, and you're like, all right, I want to keep going, right? You just need that, like you're saying, momentum, right? So that's one trick you can do on yourself, right? Is I'm gonna just do this for 15 minutes, and there's, I don't have to commit to anything after that. And then what you'll find is after 15 minutes, you're like, I'm enjoying this. I'll keep going.
Yep, that's and it's worked. It works for me even today. Like it's been 18 years, 15 years since I graduated, and it still works. Um,
You can
and
keep
that's
tricking yourself over and over again.
yeah, yep. It's just random because I love birds sounds, so I have these bird sound alarms that I have, and now we live in the forest, which have the actual birds. And sometimes the alarm goes off, and I'm like, oh, cool. And then sometimes the actual birds are making the noise. I'm like, what am I supposed to be doing right now?
How do I turn off these birds?
I can't. And then I realized this forest actually, I think that's where they made the sample from these forests that we're in, you know? So it's the
Mm.
exact same birds too. It's just coincidental. But yeah, that's one trip, a tip. Everybody out there who's got the starting trouble, you guys should like definitely try it out because it works.
So moving on, let's talk about insights from industrial professionals. Did you get a chance to talk to Mark?
Yes, I mean, so I sent an email. I sent
Mhm.
an email asking about how he would be interested in being a part of something like this, and he responded saying he would love to talk more about it because he's interested. So next week we are probably gonna have a conversation and see how we can further enhance his association with the brand.
Nice. Do you have other people that are in the industry that you can also go and talk to, either as a potential user, customer? Um, does anybody come to mind that you're like, this person definitely needs it, right? Like they can
Um,
use this platform.
I posted the link to the pitch deck last week after we made the podcast,
Mhm.
and I had some followers, subscribers from my Instagram who reached out saying this sounds like a really really good platform for musicians, and they most of them had positive things to say,
Mhm.
um, and I was
What,
hoping
what was the
for
negative stuff? What was the negative?
I was
Usually,
hoping for negative things,
uh,
but either they are too, I don't know, like not willing to say the negative stuff, or I couldn't tap into that aspect of it. So I think this time around, when I post a little snippet of our podcast, I'm going to intentionally ask for negative feedbacks that I can work on and build on because that's taboo, right? Nobody wants to hear negative feedback.
yeah,
So I
that's
think
where you
most of
improve,
them are.
right? Yeah, that's where you improve.
Yeah, and also I think nobody wants to ruffle feathers. So,
Mhm.
I think I just have to tap into asking a clearer question about the negative aspect of it. I know one person. He's not in the industry, but he knows a lot about the music industry. He's a MBA graduate. He helps start businesses in India and the US, and he's actually given me a lot of tips with business branding and stuff. And I think I'm gonna reach out to him. His name is Mahesh. We've been friends since school. Oh my
Mhm.
God, so many years. Yeah, I think I'm gonna reach out to him and ask him for his advice because he usually gives me like, Suvi, what the fuck are you doing? What is this nonsense? Yeah, so I need more of those.
Right. So I would say try to talk to 5 people that you could try to bring on as beta testers, beta users. Like, hey, if I made the first version of this, would you be willing to invest 2 hours a week? You know, trying the website, providing feedback. It would be provided to you for free. We just want to get that feedback.
Well, okay.
Because if you can't get 5 people that are also like friends, right, to use your stuff, then what's the
Yeah.
likelihood that you're gonna be able to get someone that doesn't know you to use your stuff,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
right?
No, I can definitely find peers in the industry to test out beta versions. For let me just get note that down. So at this point, it's just the pitch deck, right? That I would send to them.
Share the pitch deck, yeah, and then try to get a commitment in terms of like 2 hours a week once our alpha version is available or beta version.
Alpha version.
Alpha is like where it's still being developed, but they might have access to
Oh,
certain portions of it, but it's buggy and that sort of thing, and they provide feedback.
okay. So we'll
Generally, how
just.
generally how software development is done is you'll do 2 week sprints. So a sprint is it can be however long you want to, but generally it's 2 weeks. So a developer
Mm-hmm.
will work on whatever feature for 2 weeks. And then after that, then show it to the product manager, show it to customers. Well, the product manager usually does that. They go to the customers and show, do a demo and get feedback. So essentially, these five people would be the people that you're getting feedback from. Maybe they'll try it out, give you feedback like, "Oh, this gave me wacky answers," or "This is great."
Okay, so I basically have to find five people who would benefit from the platform, who would be
Yep.
interested in it, and who are willing to give me time to
Mhm.
test something out and be part of the building process. But also, most importantly, at this point, just get a commitment from them, knowing that, hey, I'm building something like this, but once I have the beta version, would you be interested in checking it out? Explore the unknown territory for
And just be
me.
a part of the development process because their feedback comes back to the developers eventually, and then the next 2 weeks that they work on it, maybe they're improving that feature, or they got the feedback that it's good. They don't need to muck with it anymore, or they got the feedback like this is great, but you really need this other thing to make this work. And so
Mm,
that feedback's really important. Otherwise, you have people that will work on something for 6 months or longer, and then finally put it out there, and then everybody's like, "What is this crap?" Right? And you're like, "Oh man, I just spent six
yeah.
months working on this, and it's crap," because they never took feedback along the process of development.
Wow, I had no idea. Yeah, I would
That's a
definitely.
super common mistake of people going off into their closet or their cave or whatever, working on something, not sharing it with the world, right? Not getting the feedback they need, and they find out that they spent 6 months missing the mark. Doesn't solve a problem. It doesn't have a market. That sort of stuff. You need to incorporate feedback along the way. So every 2 weeks, even daily, sometimes if you're able to crank stuff out with quick prototypes, you get feedback on that stuff immediately. In the beginning, you don't start working on your actual product from the get-go. You work on little POCs, proof of concepts. So just something that you have together
Oh,
real quick. You go and show it to the five people that you have, and then get their feedback.
they call POCs. I'm learning so much. Thank you.
So there's generally four risks associated with something not hitting the mark. There's the technical risks. Like what you were trying to do is just too technically challenging to do. Okay, so you didn't spend the time up front to figure out like actually this is going to cost us a fortune to host to do small things, right? Or to
Hmm.
build this feature is going to take 6 months, and we're going to be out of money by then. You can have financial risk or business risk where it might cost you more to make it than to sell it, right? It's a business risk.
Hmm.
Or if you build it, you might cannibalize some other part of your business, right? Which is happening kind of with Google. Google's coming out with their AI search. It might cannibalize their search, right? Uh,
Oh,
you have usability risk. So you build it, but it's not usable because the buttons are all wacky and it just doesn't make sense. The flow doesn't make sense. The user experience doesn't make sense. And so you want to have prototypes that you kind of mock together first. And there's plenty of AI tools that'll kind of do it for you that you then show to those five people or so to get their feedback.
you're saying these proof of concepts, I can do it myself?
You can just create mock-ups. You can even take paper and pencil, draw it up, and be like, "Hey, what would you do with this?" And then get that feedback.
Huh.
You don't have to have a full-blown working website to get feedback. Because you'll if you did that full blown website where you did unit testing, you made sure it scales, it's secure, all that stuff, and then you found that it didn't have any value, which is one of the biggest risks, is a value risk. Is there actually value what you're building? Then you just wasted all this time. And this happens all the time with startups. This happens all the time within large organizations. A whole team will get formed up. They're working on something for 6 months, a year, maybe even more. When they release, it falls flat on its face because it didn't solve a real problem. It's not usable. There's a lot of problems that you could have found out really early on if you got feedback early on in the cycle.
Right. This is great. So I can literally, I've always wondered how somebody builds an interface, a UI that is, how do you can see like how the process works?
Mhm.
Like, do you need money right from the get-go, or like, can you conceive a concept
There
before you
are
have the money?
there are AI websites now. I don't have the top of my head. It's like UI something or other, where you describe what you're trying to build, and it'll do a layout for you. And then
Huh.
instead of you like immediately going and building that layout or modifying and then building it, you take that mock-up that they provide and then you show it to end users. And then you ask them like, hey,
Mm.
if you were trying to learn about contracts, what would you do? Well, I would go to the search bar and I would type contracts, or I see that button right there that says contracts. I would click that. You get that feedback. Sometimes you'll see someone that's just like, I have no idea. I'm looking at this thing and I have no idea what to do.
Right.
So one thing when
Okay.
we get closer to actually having mockups is I'll teach you about how to actually do user testing. Like how do you prompt the user to give you honest feedback? How do you prompt them to let them know that they're not being tested? Their software is being
Right.
tested. So there's a whole art to how to do those interviews.
That sounds great. That's amazing. I this was such a unfathomable task in my head, building a SaaS-based concept. But you're like really helping me break it down into tiny little itsy bitsy pieces
All pieces,
for,
small
yeah,
experiments. I mean, it's all experiments. You're just trying to
yeah.
validate your ideas.
Yeah, from the get-go, right? From the like it started with you. If I might just take this moment to like tell you like this concept has been in my head since 2013, but the
Mhm.
world has changed, my life has changed, so much has changed, and I'm actually kind of glad that it's just now that it's slowly and steadily realizing into something that's, I can like hold. So when I talked to you, like when we were walking back from the beach and I started like talking to you about it, you have no idea how nervous and my heart was just like in my mouth. Like, he's
Mhm.
just gonna think I'm an idiot. He's just gonna think like, oh, there she goes with one. Like, but that first step where you actually listened to it and then told me, you know what? Let's do this was such a big step towards that validation that I
Mhm.
needed in order to realize that, okay, first step achieved, somebody believes in what I'm doing. Let's go
I
to
got
the
someone
next
on my
step.
team. Yeah, yeah.
Some Let's go to the next step, because otherwise it's just this concept that exists in my head. And I'm just going to put it out there. I've had the reputation of people telling me, oh my God, Suvi, you have so many ideas. You're consistently all over the place. I'm
Mhm.
like, yeah, all my ideas exist in my journal. They're not like invalidated for any reason because you think they're not good ideas. And I'm not gonna stop coming up with ideas. My head explodes. Like my guru is Da Vinci. Like I
Mhm.
live by his motto, you
Uh,
know. So like that's how I've had journals and journals of ideas from so many years. But it is, as an artist, so easy to get downtrodden in today's world, to make you believe that your ideas are stupid and invalidated. And that's something that is a huge pain point in my community, right? Like a lot of people who are actually talented don't have the community around them that they make them not do or pursue what they want to do.
mhm.
Like that's something also that I don't know how yet, but I want to bring into Sing Together, like providing a space where we can actually validate each other if something is real, if something is good, if something is workable, not Tom, Dick, and Harry doing anything and everything,
Well,
because it.
obviously this is why it's important. So if you're an artist, you probably hang out with a lot of other artists, right? And you don't
Mm-hmm.
have the MBA friend, or you don't have the computer engineering friend, or the computer science friend. And
Right.
you have to branch out and make friend groups that are in the tech nerds and the people that are doing stuff that you're not doing, so you can start, even if you're not going to master it yourself, that you have someone resource that you could be like, hey, I'm working on this, would you like to join my team? So team building is
And
super important.
yes, and that brings me back to the question that you asked, saying, how good is your network? And I'm like, what
Like, what is a network? And I was like, your
do you mean?
network is your net worth. It's not how much
Yes.
money you have. Money helps, but if it's all about the people, at the end of the day, relationships matter the most out of anything in the world, right? People matter more than anything else. So
And just from just the 2 weeks that you reiterated that into my brain, I've like realized how valuable it is. And in turn, also realize how valuable I am to a lot of people.
Mhm.
Because just in putting this idea forward and sending the pitch deck and reaching out to Mark and hearing back from him saying, "Oh my God, this okay, yes, I want to talk to you about it,"
Mhm.
like makes me feel like okay, network is important.
Mhm. Well, it's
Like
like
you can't just
and we talked about this last time. Was like, okay, because like the same mistake that you were making of like, I want to do NDA, I want to keep my idea close to my chest and not necessarily share with everybody. That's a downfall, right? Because we just talked about how important feedback is, and if you're going to put barriers for you to get feedback, well, you're setting yourself up for failure.
absolutely. And thank you
You're
for
not
bringing
able
that
to
into
tap
my
your network.
attention.
If you're putting your own barriers against yourself to get to your network.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I'm so glad. I'm gonna give pat myself on my shoulder a little bit because I'm glad I was open-minded to
Well,
like
yeah.
accept.
If you're closed minded and you're also putting barriers, like you're already setting yourself
Yeah.
up for failure. Like if you're not going to change direction when you see that something's not working, then you're setting up for failure.
Yeah, pivot, test, pivot. That's definitely been like my motto these days. So thank you for putting that insight into my forefront, and thank you, Sui, for being open-minded to be like, nah, if you're not taking an NDA, I'm not telling you.
All right. So
So
let's recap real quick. You're
yes,
gonna. So I'm saying you have three assignments. Okay. The
yes,
first assignment is you're gonna make a few, like we'll say 5 videos to drive traffic to 5 different landing pages, and you're gonna
mm-hmm.
see how many people you can get to sign up. The
Yes,
the second task that you have is to get 5 people to commit their time to provide you feedback on prototypes and that sort of thing as you're working towards the actual production code.
yes,
Okay. And the last thing is have fun.
yes. Have fun, and
No, the last
the
thing
whole
is
process.
you're gonna start working on like mock-ups, right? So
Oh yeah,
you're gonna start doing some POCs. I will find the website that has like the AI automated. You give it a prompt, it'll generate layouts for you, and so you can start there. Tell it like I told you before, in your pitch deck, you list a shit ton of stuff, right? There's no way that you're gonna
yes,
be able to build all that stuff from the get go. This is that's like I'll say 3 year plan. Usually that's a
yeah.
5 or 10 year plan, but since we have AI to help us go faster, I would say 3 year plan. So
So
we
pick the
decided
MVP.
we're gonna focus MVP on education. So what does that look like? What does that portal look like, right? So you can do it by hand, or you can even try to do the AI prompt where you give the prompt and let the AI generate the layout for you, or you do a combination of both.
Yeah. And they usually generate something that's like a PDF exportable that I can share with folks.
You can take a screenshot. I don't know. They might if
Oh,
you
there's still
you're trying to
more.
do something cheap, right? So you're on the free trial. You're
Yeah,
looking at what their stuff. You're just taking a screenshot and then you're sharing the screenshots.
right. Okay, yeah, so I can definitely do that. Yeah, sounds good.
All right. Let me see if I can find out what that website was that does AI generated. I
UI
talked I talked to my
mockups.
engineer about this. It was a good looking site.
Um, Also, like I really resonated with the chatbot introduction to the education aspect of the website. So that's probably the direction I'm gonna take into this whole thing because my personal experience, I have learned so much more since January, since started using ChatGPT, than exponentially, like, from the rest of my life.
So
So
there's the site. It's UI. There's UI is
UI,
uizerd.io.
hold on,
So there's other websites
UI,
like this. This is the one that's, from what I hear, pretty popular. uizard.io. So you can go on
UI
there.
Zart.
Show that here. you can go on there, you can sign up for free, and you can kind of see like what's the mobile version look like, what's the website version look like.
What's the first one you said? What's the what version?
Mobile, like on the phone,
Mobile, yeah.
right? How's it gonna look
Mm-hmm.
like on my phone versus how's it gonna look like on my computer, on my desktop?
Yeah. .io. Okay. Oh, great. Sign up for free. Yeah, design templates.
So yeah, that's where you start your initial prototyping, right? You start prototyping, making the screenshots. You're at a stage where you could go out and try to get seed funding, right? Once you talk to enough people, you have them committed, you have your layouts done, and you're like, hey, I have this all lined up, and I've gotten the feedback from these people saying this stuff, and you also want to share the negative stuff because if you just say everybody thinks my shit is great, it don't stink. No, you want like, hey, I heard this, I changed this, and this, right? Like I got honest feedback. I didn't just get people patting me on the back saying, "Oh, Suvi, good job, you're the best." Like doesn't help. Doesn't help.
No,
That
it doesn't.
just boost your ego. It doesn't help the actual product you're trying to make.
Absolutely. So one question for you. So, before we go into, I know this is a little bit more ahead in the process of building a business from scratch, but in the process of, the process of starting to look for seed funding, how many, like, what's a good number of possible user signups that's a goal that I can start working towards?
So usually seed funding is saying like, hey, we don't even have anything built,
Right.
right? So usually
So I'm basically just
seed
selling
funding is like
concept.
you want in between 200,000 to like 500,000. You can even
Mm-hmm.
maybe do less if you can find cheaper developers. So I can help you find cheap developers. But we can also look like what's it look like if you maybe brought someone on as a developer that would work with you, and then they just get a portion of the company.
Right. But like I'm saying, would it matter if I had like five people who find this concept really amusing and has been part of my testing and feedback, or is it better I focus for a number like 50, 100, or if
Well,
that's
you can
an
only
actual.
manage so many. Like you as a person in a week can manage maybe 8 people. Anything more than that, then it's just the value drops off. You want to kind of have like deep sessions where you dive in and really truly understand why the UI is confusing or why it provides no value. If you had a bigger team, sure, you, another person, 8 people each, great. But anything more than 8 people, where you're giving about 4 hours a week to that one person, you're going to be overwhelmed. So 50 is not going to help.
Oh, that makes sense. So we're not talking about people just signing up on my website for this concept to come up. We're talking about actual interactive back and forth sessions with these individuals that I can use and take to the building board to work with
Yeah, and if you're just talking about how many signups you have, as many as possible.
as many as possible. Right.
Yeah, there's no like, you know, the more number that you have signed up, the more attractive you look. So if you have 10 versus 100 versus 1,000, every order of magnitude, you're gonna look way more investable.
That was a question. So beta testers stick to 5, 8 at the most because that's
Yeah,
going to be something that I have to invest my time into. But signups for the concept itself, as many as possible, the better.
as many as you
So
can
that
find.
okay. I like that. Thank you.
All right, Suvi, good podcast, and I'll see you. We'll go back to our normal schedule,
Yeah.
Tuesdays, 10 a.m. PST, and we'll see you there. Beats Decoded, streaming live.
Streaming live. I'll see you guys soon. Thanks so much for having me, Raj, and thank you for all of your insights.
Appreciate you.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.